Shalom. Thanks for joining today. Today I'm talking about wanting to be liked. Most of us like being liked, but we have to weigh the cost of being liked. Many years ago, I belonged to denominational churches, and many of our relationships are purely based on attending the same denominational church. Now, I thought it was more than that, and I really believe that the people in my church were um, were my friends for life. I was a Sunday school teacher for the adults and a vacation Bible school teacher for the children, and sometimes for the young adults. And many of the congregations included me in their family outings, like the baby showers, the weddings, the graduations, funerals. I was there, and I was called to pray for the sick and all other kinds of dire situations when somebody needed prayer. They helped me when I had surgery by fixing meals, watching my children. One of the sisters even came and stayed with me for 2 or 3 weeks when I needed to be on bed rest. And one family was godparents to my children. And I went to, there was a women's retreat that we would go to in Ripley, West Virginia. And I went to that every year for a 10-year period. I also attended, that was in Jackson, Michigan, a one-day retreat. And so I went to that. And so there was a lot of things that we did and a lot of fellowship and stuff. But when I started keeping the Sabbath, it was like I had the plague. No more invitations, no more frequent phone calls. One sister who was my bestest friend, I just knew that it would click with her. If I explained this to her, she told me she didn't understand why I would listen to another doctrine when I had been a Sunday school teacher for all those years. Our relationship slowly waned, and now we haven't spoken in years. Now, I do continue to sin if I see in my feed or something like that, and sometimes I'll go and look them up and send friend requests on Facebook to some of those church members. So I'm figuring I'm gonna get some truth in their feed, okay? And I was glad that many of them have accepted my request. Nobody has asked me any questions about anything. They just they're sharing to let her be, okay? So when I faced the decision that I had to make, either I could have friends and false teaching, or I would lose friends and accept the truth. I had to go with the truth. And it wasn't a hard decision because once you know the truth, you just know the truth. But the walking it out was, I no longer go with these people. And sometimes when things happen to you in your life and you want to call up somebody and tell them about it, but you know that you can't make those phone calls anymore because they're not accepting you as part of their tribe, their clan. All right. So that's one kind of acceptance when we're walking in truth. But then there's another kind of acceptance, more on I would say a superficial kind of carnal level, okay? But we all have some point have dealt with that, okay? And there was one Sabbath I was having a conversation with three other sisters. Okay, one was in their 20s, two was in their 40s, and at that time I was in my 50s. No, I was in my 60s, okay? We were all surprised that we had shared some of the same or similar experience about our self-images, okay? We shared that we used to feel that we were either too fat or too thin, too dark or not light enough, hair was too kinky or too curly, or we wanted it straight. We laugh when we recognize that some of our dislikes were the traits that other people wanted. And the media sells us an image of beauty that we buy into. And if we don't match that standard, we can have a dislike of ourselves. We reason with each other that Jehovah created each one of us the way he wanted us, and we need to love the marvelous creations that we are. I'm going to tell you a couple examples in my childhood. When I went to kindergarten, it was a school that was multiracial school. And in most of my upbringing, in my social sphere, as much as you can have a social sphere at 5, okay, and that's with going to outings with family and being around family and relatives and stuff like that. It had mostly been around black people. So when I went to the school and I saw that there were some white children there, I remember once being in the bathtub, and if y'all remember the ivory soap, and ivory soap, it would lather up and whatever. And my mom came in because I had used up about half a bar of soap, lathering up and washing stuff, and I had been in there the longest time. And she said, "Shane, what are you doing?" So I said, "I'm trying to get white like so and so and so and so." And she had to explain to me that that ivory soap wasn't it, and that people came in all different colors. And then I remember this was probably a late teen, and in my family, there's a range of different colors of people because my grandmother, her children were a range of colors from some, darker than me, lighter than me, or whatever. And then one of the lighter um, uncles married a woman that looked like she was white, but she was biracial. And so her children, some of her children looked like they were white. And I can remember being put down by them because they considered me dark. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, there were some elitist clubs that were like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and even into the 50s and maybe at the early 60s before um, the movement Be Black and Proud. And so that what they said is that if your skin was darker than a paper bag, you weren't given membership into their club. Okay. So, I mean, it was a thing. Okay. It just was. And so we have a lot of things that we have to deal with in terms of self images. But back to this conversation with the sisters, we had fun discussing ways we had tried to compensate for our shortcomings. Now, I'm going to tell you right off, I never used that Natinola, and that was the skin bleaching cream because I was too afraid of putting something on my skin that it was going to splotch me up. So and my mom had already had told me, she had told me don't even use soap on my face, just to use warm water in a rag, okay? And but anyways, I wasn't going that route. But anyway, we would, one of the ladies would say she was trying to eat fattening foods to gain weight for a curvy figure. And that ain't never been my problem, trying to gain weight. But she only got a pudgy belly, all right? And tucking in her lips so they wouldn't look so big. My grandmother had a thing about this. My dad's mom, she said, tucking your lips, tucking your lips. How you go around all day with tuck, tuck them lips, you know? But that was a thing that you didn't want to be dark skinned and you didn't want to have big lips. Okay, and squeezing in the girdle so we wouldn't jiggle. Okay, now that was back in the 50s. Everybody wore a girdle because your mama would buy you a girdle. Okay, and wearing corsets. Now, corsets were those things that come from about right here down to below your belly, and it had a cooking eye that you snapped up, and then you zipped it up too. It like lift you up. And I had some, but I'm gonna tell you, you would have to sit up so straight because they ain't gonna let you bend over, and then you're not gonna be able to eat that well either. I wonder how I suffered. That was like self torture. All right, and using hot combs and chemicals to get our hair straightened, or then when the afro came in, trying to let it grow and get curly or the curly lines or whatever. But a lot of this stuff was dictated by social media and the business moguls. Okay, they have you go on to one thing, but after that kind of drop down, they have you turn around. That's out, and now you got to buy this to get into something else. And so we all agree that we need to speak encouraging words of beauty to those that we know, and especially those that struggle with a poor self-image, especially children. We all had a good laugh when I told them what my grandmother had said to me. This is the one with tucking the lips. She said, "Sharon, When people have a mountain forehead like yours, okay, she said, it means you're smart. Okay, so one of the sisters, she was dying laughing. She said, "Did you believe her?" And I said, "Yeah, I believed her." And I never once doubted that my mountain forehead, it is a pretty good forehead, okay? That the mountain forehead, um, it was just smarts, okay? And I never had any ill feelings toward my grandmother or anything. As a matter of fact, I thought it was a compliment. I thought I was special, okay? So let's pass on words of beauty to those around us. And let's remember Psalm 139:14. I will give thanks and praise to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. All right. Shalom. See you the next time. Remember to like and share and to subscribe. Thanks.